I think we can dive more into the fears, and the biggest fear technique for me is one of my personal favorites, because when we're talking about this reactance, when I share what my biggest fear is here, I'm lowering myself on the okay, not okay scale. I'm being humble. I'm admitting something that I'm vulnerable about. It makes it more likely that they do as well. And so many salespeople go the other way. Like, I got to be 100% confident. I'm all in. Like, our product's awesome. I can't admit any weaknesses. And what that forces is somebody else to push back, then to like inspect and find those weaknesses, rather than I'm admitting them. I'm disarmingly honest. I'm lowering the walls. I'm lowering the reactance.
That's a great point.
And I'm getting them to come into the conversation rather than force them to put walls up. And I think especially at the very beginning, be like, hey, my biggest fear is I'm going to be too expensive. Should we talk about that up front? Like, it just allows it to put that fear on the table rather than let it build in the background while you're having the rest of the conversation.
Well, everybody knows from, reading old books on sales and, stuff like that, that there's the old takeaway close, the takeaway close, well, there is something to that, right? That's negative reverse selling, basically, in an old form. But when you, under the fifth step, purpose, time, consent, outcomes, and now you brought up fears. On the fifth step in fears, when you say, look, a fear I have, a concern that I have up front is that we are never the cheapest vendor. If it's going to come down to who's the cheapest vendor, we should probably stop the conversation. We should be in the ballpark, but we're never going to be the cheapest. Should we stop the conversation? When you say that, the takeaway close, should we stop the conversation? People will exercise their freedom of choice, and qualified prospects will stay. They will stay. Yeah. They will stay under their own choice, right? And that's where you have now really set the groundwork for an adult to an adult conversation, a real conversation to qualify whether or not it's a fit. You've lessened the likelihood of triggering that reactance. Go for it.
So let's talk about in the conversation and when we trigger it now. So we've talked about a few tools here. Negative questions are easier than positive assumptive questions. Asking questions and open-ended questions are a lot easier, gives them the freedom to go whichever way they want rather than specific directed ones. But oftentimes you need a lot of tools. You mentioned the takeaway. I like that one. Sandler called it the ramp up takeaway. Like, whenever you feel yourself getting really excited about something, you got to bring that excitement back down. So you're like, Brian, I got to tell you about this event we were having. It's going to be awesome. You should really come. And then you go, oh crap. But you're probably busy. And then you got to like,
it's funny. I've never heard of that before. The ramp up takeaway that Sandler said.
Yeah. Otherwise you're going to be pushing too hard. Yeah. And there's two that I love here. And since, you like that one, I'll share the other one is the start stop reverse. We teach this one in Sandler, where it's when you start to answer the question and then you stop in the middle and answer it. And I like that one because it's also when I mess up as a salesperson and I fall for the trap and they're like, how much does it cost? And you go, well, I got to tell you, Brian, we got a great deal right now. It's on sale. And then you go, wait, how many were you going to buy? And like, you catch yourself. You're like, oh, wait, I'm going to say something.
This is beautiful. This is really gold. This is gold, what you're talking about here. Because if salespeople, if people listening to this right now, if you can really be more aware of this real thing called reactance, this irrational response that humans have when they're being told what to do, told what not to do, or told how to do something, if you catch yourself doing that, then listen to what Mike just said and do those things. Stop what you're saying. Say, well, oh, you know what? You should do this, blah, 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 blah. But then again, you know what? Stop myself. I don't know. I don't know if this is that important to you, right? I don't know. You might not have the bandwidth to do something like that. There's probably no way you can reallocate any budget. It's probably a bad idea, right? You can stop yourself when you feel your feelings tell you that you're triggering their reactance. You know when you're doing it. We all do. And you can fall back on some of the techniques and concepts that Sandler gives you.